Hey everyone, and welcome to Reformed Thinking. So today we're tackling a question that, let's be honest, hits every single one of us Christians at some point. How in the world do we keep going when life feels impossibly hard? We're going to break down the biblical source of our strength to endure all the way to the end. So let's dive right in.
You know, the Bible doesn't pull any punches on this topic. It hits us with this really stark warning right out of 1 Corinthians, let anyone who thinks that he stands take heed lest he fall. Now, this isn't here to scare us, right? The point is to get us grounded in a really sober reality. The race we're in is serious. The danger of falling away is real, and it's real for everybody. And that's exactly why understanding the true source of our endurance is so critical.
Okay, so let's dig into what the Bible actually says about this. You'll see that the scriptures, they don't treat endurance like it's some kind of nice-to-have virtue, or an optional extra for the super Christians. No, it's presented as an absolute necessity. And the stakes, well, as we're about to see, they're eternal. I mean, just look at how directly these verses connect our perseverance with our ultimate salvation. The one who endures to the end will be saved. This isn't just about getting some extra prize at the end. It's about making it across the finish line at all. The Bible is just crystal clear on this. The path is hard, the opposition is fierce, and that's precisely why endurance is a command, not just a friendly suggestion. Okay, so if life is hard, what's the world's go-to solution? Well, it's a path that runs in the complete opposite direction of the Christian calling. Let's take a look at this sort of default setting, this deeply flawed way of dealing with hardship. So many of us, especially in the West, have kind of absorbed this idea without even thinking about it. This idea that the whole point of life is to build this bubble, this safe, comfortable, stress-free existence for ourselves. And what happens? When trouble inevitably shows up, our main focus just becomes coping. And that leaves very little energy for anything or anyone else.
This chart here, it just lays out the two paths so clearly, doesn't it? The world's trajectory is all about moving away from discomfort, away from risk, away from need. But the Christian calling, it's the complete opposite. It's a trajectory toward need, toward service, no matter the personal cost. The goal flips from self-protection to self-sacrifice, because we're following the example of Christ himself. Okay, so if we're not supposed to rely on our own strategies for self-protection, then what do we rely on? And this right here brings us to the very heart of it all. This peculiar, almost paradoxical source of power that fuels real Christian endurance.
Man, this is such a crucial concept to grasp. Christian endurance is not a passive thing. We are absolutely called to strive, to run, to fight. But here's the key. The energy, the fuel for all that effort, it doesn't come from our own willpower or grit. It comes from God's grace. It's this strange paradox. It's a striving that is deeply restful. And the Apostle Paul actually gives us the divine formula for this over in Philippians. And I want you to notice how these two parts work together. First, there's our part. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So yes, our effort is real. It's required. But look what comes right after that. It's God's part. For it is God who works in you. Think about that. He's the one who is actually working in us, giving us both the desire and the power to do his will. He's the ultimate source behind our work.
So what does that mean? It means we tremble. Yeah, because the stakes are incredibly high. But we're not trembling with the kind of anxiety you'd have if you were left to do it all on your own. No, instead, there's this deep, restful confidence underneath it all. Because we know that the one who called us to run this race is the very same one who is empowering every single step. We are not alone out there.
And this isn't some new idea. The great abolitionist William Wilberforce, he saw this exact truth as the key to the entire moral and spiritual life of his nation. We think of him as a politician, and he was, but he was also a sharp theologian who pinpointed the forgotten root of real Christian endurance. So Wilberforce looked at the kind of lukewarm, nominal Christianity all around him, and he made this stunning diagnosis. He argued that the moral rot he saw wasn't just because people weren't trying hard enough. No, it was because they had fundamentally misunderstood Christian doctrine. They had the whole thing completely backward. Wilberforce actually called it the Great Reversal. The mistaken view, and it was common in his day, and it is just as common in ours, is that our effort, our attempts at holiness, that's the cause of God's acceptance of us. But the biblical view, it's the exact opposite. God's free pardon, what we call justification by faith, that is the cause of our holiness. It's the engine, not the finish line.
We don't strive and work to earn God's favor. We strive and work because we've already received it freely by His grace.
And this quote from Wilberforce just absolutely nails it. He said, Christianity is a scheme for making the fruits of holiness the effects, not the cause of our being justified and reconciled. You see, pardon has to come before power. Acceptance has to come before effort. This is the grace that fuels the race.
All right, so we've looked at why we need endurance, and we've seen the peculiar God-given power that makes it possible. But that leaves one last question. Why? What's the point of it all? What's the ultimate goal? Where is all this striving, all this persevering supposed to lead us?
Well, you can see how the aims kind of build on each other. We endure, of course, for our own salvation, to reign with Christ, that's true. And we endure so that we can actually do good in this world, to be the kind of people who move toward need instead of away from it. But the ultimate aim, the final goal that all these other goals point to, is that in everything, through our weakness, through our striving, and through His amazing grace, God Himself might be glorified through Jesus Christ. Our endurance, in the end, is meant to make Him look as glorious as He truly is.
So as we wrap this up, everything we've talked about really boils down to one very personal question for you and for me. When you face hardship, when you feel your strength just giving out, what are you actually relying on? Is it the fading, flickering power of your own resolve? Or is it that deep, restful confidence that comes from trusting in the absolutely inexhaustible grace of God to carry you all the way home?